The sheer magnitude of the global depopulation policy has dictated a gradual and incremental approach that has three distinct phases, each with its own primary objective. It was understood early on that engineering a population reduction would take multiple generations and require long-term commitment, anywhere from 100 to 150 years. First, the total number of children born to every woman would have to be reduced. Second, the total number of people living on Earth would have to peak. And third, the global population would have to steadily decline to a level that is sustainable.
This process is called the demographic transition, and it is the world's greatest work of social engineering, dwarfing in effort and resources anything else that humankind has ever attempted. It is like forcing a river to flow backwards, a completely unnatural process. Extraordinarily, it is also the world's greatest secret, as it is being accomplished without the people's knowledge or consent.
The first phase, the population control phase, spans the entire second half of the 20th century. During this phase, from 1950 to the year 2000, the overarching goal of the international community and the depopulation lobby has been to bring down the total fertility rate of every country on Earth to no more than 2 children for every woman, the so-called replacement level fertility. The idea being that if every couple on Earth has only 2 children, then the population will neither grow nor decrease and would remain stable for all times. Therefore, every country would be able to manage its resources and live within its means. It must be remembered that at war's end in 1945, the global population doubled every 30 years due to very high fertility rates and greatly decreased mortality rates, thanks to improvements in medicine, nutrition, and sanitation. Clearly, an unsustainable growth for a finite planet.
The second phase is the population stabilization phase. It started in the year 2000 and is ongoing. The overarching goal of this phase is to ensure that the global population does not exceed 9 billion and that it peaks by 2040 or at the latest by 2050. It is questionable that the existing landmass could even feed 9 billion people, which is why the depopulation program has been accelerated and intensified. And we, the world's people, are under sustained chemical and biological attack like never before. GMOs have been unleashed on the developing world to ensure that their fertility rates go down to replacement level fertility, while chemtrails have been unleashed on the developed world to ensure that the lifespans of the baby boom generation are shortened. This is a critical period, as fertility rates in the poorest of nations are falling like raindrops from the sky, without being accompanied by prosperity, which has always been used to justify falling birth rates in order to conceal the true reasons for their decline. The true reasons, of course, being the sustained use of chemical and biological toxins, which is why no one in the system will whisper a single word, and why the church sees no evil, hears no evil, and speaks no evil. Everyone is tomb quiet, while the bodies are piling up. The third phase, the controlled depopulation phase, has already begun in several European countries, Russia and Japan, and will begin elsewhere as soon as phase 2 is completed, around the year 2050. Once the population peaks at 9 billion, the full panoply of fertility-depressing agents will remain in place to ensure a steady and controlled decline. How low the global population will have to decrease depends on our consumption patterns and environmental necessities. Judging by how fast the developing world is aspiring to reach Western standards of living, and by the fast rate at which fossil fuels and fresh water are being depleted, it is safe to assume that the global population will have to shrink by at least 2/3 from its peak of 9 billion, provided that renewable energy technologies will be fully engaged in the next 50 years and the carbon footprint of every human being on Earth decreases to half of what it is today. In the absence of such sparing use of resources and universal use of advanced technologies, the population will have to decrease to less than 1 billion if human civilization is to halt the destruction of the environment on which its very survival depends.